there's a lot of differences. Now, the main difference is this. If you have a look at the vertebra here, so let's say this is one of these, okay, looking from the side. So this is like a side view looking this way. Now, I'll show you on this one. So what happens is there's two main principles. One of them is that most chiropractors will look at adjusting this joint, which is called the facet joint. Now, the two principles is the two differences in terms of how it's approached is that when the spine misaligns, it's going to either do this, it's going to rotate at this joint, and that's where the subluxation happens. But where the Gonstead difference is that we don't recognize the misalignment happening here. We actually recognize the misalignment happening on the whole vertebra. So what happens is, what we're mainly concerned with is how the misalignment occurs. The first step that has to happen is that the vertebra will misalign, the whole vertebra will misalign back. Okay, so now as it misaligns back like this, both sides of the joint is also going to be misaligned. What we need to do is, this is what we call posteriority and inferiority. What that means is looking from the back, this is the front here, as the vertebra misaligns, it's going to misalign way back like this. Now the reason for this is because you've got the joints back here and they're aligned down, okay? Plus you've also got the ligament here. So the actual vertebra cannot misalign forwards. It only misaligns back because you've got a strong ligament here which will actually prevent the vertebra going forwards. So every time you have a misalignment, what has to happen is that you're going to have a misalignment of the vertebra onto its disc. Okay, so this is the disc here, and that's the vertebra. It has to misalign, the vertebra will misalign back like that. Now, what happens then is that when it misaligns back like this, because the disc is not compressible, it's mainly water. What that means is that the whole vertebra is shifted back, and that will mean that it cannot be shifted forward unless it's actually adjusted. A lot of times what happens is it misaligns back, but it can also rotate, but it can also tilt. But the main concern for the Gonstead chiropractor is the posteriority. How much is it actually misaligned back and down? Now, what we need, and this is one reason why we also need x-rays. We'll go through it later. But what we need to do is we need to actually adjust the segment, the whole segment from the back onto its disc. We don't merely adjust the joints here on one side or the other. A lot of other techniques is mainly concerned with the facet joints. They want to adjust the joint on the one side only. Okay, so when you try to click it yourself, for example, like you always hear, oh, I can click it myself, why do I need a chiropractor? There's a big difference. There's a big difference between trying to lock up, if you're adjusting this joint here as a rotational adjustment here, for example, you want to click the neck, you're doing this, you're rotating it, that's popping only at the facet joint. You're not going to get the segment to actually go back onto its disc. That's what makes a Gonstead adjustment so hard. It takes years to actually be able to successfully and consistently be able to adjust the patient, be able to shift the whole segment forwards onto its disc on both sides and doing it in a neutral position. That's a big difference. When you lock up the joint and you're pushing it past like that, when you try to click it yourself, for example, what you're actually doing is you're putting tension on the facet joints. And as you put tension on the facet joints, it will click because you're forcing it. With a Gonstead adjustment, it's done in a neutral position. You're actually contacting on the spinous here. You're not contacting on the facet joints. That's a big difference. Where we contact and how we adjust is totally different to other techniques. And that's what makes it different.